Welcome, everyone. This is ACDC, Araceli and Colette, the Dynamic Change. And today we have a very special episode. But first of all, let me tell you who I am. My name is Araceli, and I'm a transition wealth advisor. And I do believe that going through transitions doesn't have to be financially devastating. And I do help professional women rearrange their finances so they can go and navigate through transition the best they can do. So thank you very much. And I'm also a real estate investor. And I'm here with my partner, Colette. Colette, can you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Colette Rabba, and I am a real estate broker in the GTA West. And I help home buyers and sellers move forward in their lives and fulfill their dreams of home ownership. And also, I'm also myself, I am a an investor in real estate. And that's why Araceli and I initially got together and started chatting. And we loved talking to one another that we thought, hey, let's start a show. And today's a very special episode because, and that's why we have fireworks in the background, because this is our 49th episode. We have been doing this for a year, giving everybody more information about being a homeowner and being an investor. So I want to say cheers to you, Araceli, to us for the year.
Cheers, my dear. This is absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Man, so we're in a long-term relationship now.
Cheers. I know.
And thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for all your hard work and for showing up and for doing all that you do. So cheers.
Cheers, my dear.
And we're not actually drinking alcohol. I'm drinking Sprite just because it's like noon.
Oh, come on. Just pretend.
Later. Yeah. Well, I'll drink something proper tonight.
Absolutely. Today we have a really special episode. One thing that, we really haven't talked about, but it is super important, not only when you are buying a home or a investment property, but in life, right? So what is the vision that you want? And today we're going to be talking about how can you create a home buyer's wish list? If you're in the market to buy a property for yourself or a property for an investment, have a list, and hoping this will help you out.
Yeah,
let's get a start.
So, and we're going to go through this pretty quickly because we don't know where your level is, but if you're interested in actually buying a home or an income property, this is so important because I get, sometimes people get really excited and they go, oh, I want to buy a house. But they don't have any of the answers that I need to really hone in on what they want. Same thing with Araceli. When you really look at an overall picture of your life and what you want, this is where you have to really start and know the answers of, it's just like anything else. You got to set a goal. You got to set your timing in place. You have to set let's get started so I don't go forward.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away yet.
Don't give it away. Yes, of course. We're giving it away anyway. But first thing is communication. This is really key because it's not just about your wish list and saying, oh, I would really like to have shiny floors or a nice kitchen or, backsplash or whatever it is. Ultimately, what you have to do is communicate with whoever you're buying with. So if it's either an income property or a spouse, or let's say Araceli and I decide to buy something, we need to communicate from start to finish and beyond. So
absolutely. Well, it's you got to take into consideration who is the final user. So are you buying it for yourself only, with your spouse? Do you have children? All of that. Answers a lot of questions in here. Even actually children, they do have an input on what they want, and maybe they do have special needs that you have to have certain things for them.
Right. So, but be careful. Only don't have too many people, because then you get into the whole, oh, my parents say this, and oh, my contractor says that, and oh.
No, this is for the final user who is going to be living in the house. Of course, you can take advice from your parents, someone that you trust, but at the end of the day, it's what your wish list is, right? What it's going to be, what is important to you as the owner of the property, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, this is why we do videos, and we have a little presentation, so you can pause at any time and write these things down if you want. You can start your own little book. This is what I tell my buyers: have a little binder. Make sure you write everything down. That way, with the listings too, what I do with my clients is they get a listing, and I make them write stuff on the listing so they can remember what they liked about the home and what they didn't like about the home. So these are the things that, yes, it hits my criteria, or no, it doesn't. So some of the things that you want to put on your list are must-haves, important, not, not so important. And definitely, I don't want a creepy basement, let's say. For example. So, and sometimes you can't see that on an MLS listing. You have to physically go to see the house. So sometimes, we'll get to that. So step number 2, 100%. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's your specialty, Araceli. I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the things that a lot of people they're not very clear. And the reason is because they haven't done their homework. They haven't sat down with a financial advisor to talk about how they're going to be moving forward, right? Remember, if you are renting right now, there is additional expenses, not only your mortgage in comparison to your rent, but also there's other things like property taxes, maybe condo fees, utilities, all of those things, they have to be taken into consideration.
And closing costs.
Closing costs, that is part of it. And then you'll be ready to talk to a mortgage broker to find out how much can you afford, because realistically right now, especially in the GTA, what we want sometimes is not very aligned to what we can get. So you have to be willing to compromise that cost. Okay.
Well said. Okay, so step 3, obviously we all know it's location, location, location. You have to be as specific as you can. Really, if you say, oh, I don't know, anywhere in the GTA, like, there's always a reason why you choose a location. It's either because your family lives close, or you like the schools in the area, or your work is close. So really, if you can hone in, and this is the hard part that I find with my clients now, because of COVID, we are all working from home, and we can be a little more flexible with the location. But there's always another factor. So it's either amenities, you want to be close to trails or parks, or certain shops or things like that, or sports centers. These are the important things that you really have to hone in on, which location you want based on your lifestyle. We're going to say this word a few times today: lifestyle. Keep that in mind. So maximum 2 cities is best. If you choose 2 that are side by side, let's say Burlington and Oakville, for example, it's a really big area. Once you start knowing more about each area, you're even going to want to stay within a certain space, or a certain little area within one of those cities. So let's say you just want to do South Oakville or South Burlington. You can start reducing it as you go. But really, to focus on 1 or 2 max huge cities makes a huge difference, and knowing what your wish list is.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, if you want to go back to that, what I wanted to say is, now sometimes you do have 2 people living there that they have really work far apart from each other, right? Somebody works in Hamilton, somebody works in Toronto.
Right.
So what do you do in that case? Usually they try to come in as in the middle, or dependent if one of them is more flexible to work from home. So take into consideration all of that. Also price, right? Because if it's better to live in Hamilton, that is a little cheaper than Toronto, maybe they want to choose to do that and take the train, something like that. So
yeah, and I'm sorry, I did forget something. I'm glad you said. The one thing that should be on this list is transportation. So if you do, like you said, there's 2 people that work in different areas. One is okay to commute, one isn't. Then at least make sure that there is transportation. You're close to highways if you drive, or if you are a commuter, that you have easy access to transit. So that's, on my apologies, I should put transit on there.
Yeah.
So number 4 is the fun stuff. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, well, one of the things that you want to know, first of all, is what your lifestyle cost. And a financial advisor can help you with it. And if you don't know what that is that means, what are you used to buying today that is essential to you, right?
Yeah.
Do you have some certain sports for your children? There's certain things that you do yourself that it translates to an amount that you spend every month. And
Right.
now, exactly.
Or travel. You still want to have that lifestyle to travel and you want to go places. So it goes back to let's go back. Goes back to number 2, financing. So all the steps have something to do with one another.
Yeah.
So the lifestyle is the most, well, not the most important, but it is a big factor.
It is a big factor because you know what? If now you're renting and you're used to doing a lot of activities that have a cost, whether it's going out to eat every week, you have certain activities with your friends, maybe you belong to a club. And I know that a lot of things we're not able to do today, but this is not going to be forever. And you have your kids in certain activities and all of this cost that you do every month, are you going to be able to continue doing that if you buy a house that is going to cost or is going to take more of that disposable income every month? You
Right.
might have to sacrifice 1 or 2 activities in order to have the house that you want. So, or maybe reduce the house and have a smaller house so you can sustain the other expenses. So that is very important to have a balance, because sometimes what happens is people take all of their disposable income and take it in a home, and now you're house poor, and now you're bound to the house and you can't go anywhere.
Well,
or you cannot spend money
and it's
traveling, right?
COVID, you're still tied to, well,
Exactly.
and this is why I chose this photo too, because the fun stuff is not just about I need certain bedrooms and certain bathrooms, but also because it's COVID and we are getting more interested, and this is a long-term thing, about our outdoor space and our storage, and for, let's say, hobbies that we have. Do you have skis that you have to store? Do you have, this all comes down to lifestyle. So when you really look at the bigger picture of, do you have like 3 cars? If you're a car collector, do you need a large garage or a large driveway? All these factors have to be considered when you make your wish list. So this is the thing that, again, we like to use the word lifestyle because it is so important. You might forget that it's not a must have, but because of COVID, because of kids, if you want to have children in the future too, is there enough space in that house for them?
Mm-hmm.
So these are all things lifestyle. What do you plan? I'd like to say in the next 5 years. So even, we're going through COVID now. Let's look at the future and say,
yeah,
we think
absolutely. And one of the things that I wanted to say, that as an investor, even if you're buying the house for yourself, plan to be in the house between 5 to 7 years. That is kind of like the magic number for an investment property or for a house that you're living in, because that is, you're taking advantage of the appreciation over time, and also pay down your mortgage, and also amortize all the costs that you have up front. So if somebody wants to move every year, well, yeah, you can get some appreciation, but all of the costs that you have up front, it's really not that much of a difference. So that's why 5 to 7 years is kind of like the magic number for a property.
Right. And then going back to, if you do have a mortgage, this is when you talk about how long your mortgage is. If you have a 25 amortization period, 25-year amortization, doesn't mean that you don't have to think about it for 25 years. There is usually a 5-year, sometimes it's a 1 year or 5-year that you have to look at it again. So that 5-year, if you break your mortgage within that 5-year plan,
it's a penalty.
You're going to have a penalty, and sometimes it can be really big. So you have to ask these questions before you actually sign anything with any mortgage broker or lender. So not so fun, but I have to mention that.
Yeah.
So number 5, I feel like I wanted to write this because some of my buyers don't quite have the answer to this. They feel that, well, maybe we can take on some renos, but we don't know how much is too much. So until we look at some houses, until we really see examples of what can be done, this is something that a lot of people don't answer right away, but it's something to think about. Something too, if you're interested in just learning, that's sort of how I got started. I was just like, well, why can't I do it myself? If I can you know, how hard is it? How hard is it to swap out a toilet? Let's try it. You know, so things like that. How hard is it to lay tile? It's hard. Like, that's maybe too much, right? But there are a lot of things these days that you can do on your own that is not gonna, you know, you're not gonna explode your house. You're not using, you know, bombs or anything, nothing dangerous. And I honestly have to say, I have to take the moment. I'm sure Araceli agrees with me. Anything that is electrical, do not do it by yourself.
Yeah, you know what? If it's something very simple, I'm very comfortable with changing a light, like a
Yeah,
light fixture.
light fixture.
That is fine. I've changed switches, it's okay.
Yeah.
But anything that has to do with running wires, can I do it? Probably. But the thing is, you don't want to take a chance with that. You want to have somebody that is certified and that they can come and look at that, because if you touch something by mistake, oh my goodness, like it, and it's not so much for the damage that you can do, but it's the damage that you can do to yourself. So
Right, of course.
always
And
be
also,
safe.
yeah, and also liability in your insurance, if your insurance is not going to cover you if something does happen, because electrical, you can start fires, and it might not happen right away. There's
Yeah.
you know, things that can happen over time. So please don't touch your electrical.
Yeah.
There's another thing too. If it's swapping out a toilet, if you have your water shutoffs and they're working, you should not have any problems. Aside from that, do not try and change any directions of plumbing and, you know, drains and things like that. That would be too much for me. I do consider myself a DIYer, but I would never do anything over swapping out a toilet or swapping.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah, I love doing stuff as well. And you
Yeah.
know what, also take into consideration this, the time frame, because if you're doing it yourself, it's going to take you longer, right?
Right.
I enjoy doing projects, but sometimes I get frustrated because it takes me too long to do it, because I only have an hour or two at a time.
Right.
Which is, you know, if you hire somebody, might be just quicker. Also, depending on the number of people that are in the house. If you have the smaller children, that might be a little bit of a hazard to have things all over the place.
True.
You know, if you have only one washroom as well, and you need it,
Of course. Yeah.
you know, you want to get rid of it as quickly as possible, the renovation.
Exactly.
So all of those, think all that, and also your tolerance. The tolerance, some people don't have any tolerance for having dust,
right.
You know, living, you know, moving furniture from side to side. It is really troublesome. I've lived through renovations myself, and it's just, you know, at that time I was living by myself, and still it was a little bit of a chore, moving things around all the time, right?
I agree with you. So that's the other thing too, not just the tolerance for renos, but also the tolerance for maintenance. So people say, oh, I want a pool. I think pools are great. Pools can be very expensive and also a lot of maintenance. And especially if you have small children with a pool, you really have to make sure that it's safe, that you have a barrier around the pool, not just your fence and the bylaws around having fencing around your lot. So these are some things that people don't, you know, they would like to have a pool, but in actuality, they don't like the maintenance. Pools take a lot of time to maintain. You have to close it every year. You have to open it every spring.
Yeah, and it's expensive.
And it's expensive. Heaters break down all the time. So there's a lot of things that you really have to kind of imagine. Talk to someone if you've never had a pool. Talk to someone who has a pool to see if that's something that you're willing to take on. Gardens too. Some people, a lot of buyers that I have walk in and they have no idea what kind of maintenance a garden really needs. So not just the lawn maintenance, which is a lot in some cases, if you have a big enough lot, to make sure, do you want to pay someone to mow the lawn? Can you do it yourself? Weeds, what's a weed and what's not a weed?
Yeah.
So really, yeah, you have to ask yourself those questions. And guess what? A great agent can help you with that. So,
absolutely.
Hey,
so if you do have a wish list and things that we haven't talked about it, put them down. Make a list of all the things that you wish you could have, and then talk to an agent like Colette, and she's very helpful about that, and tells you what, you know, what is possible, because, you know, we all would like to have bigger, smaller, or, you know, like this or that. But at the end of the day, it's also, it's going to clash with your lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's why we keep saying the word lifestyle, because this is something that, you really have to, nobody can answer those questions for you. If you see yourself, lounging by a pool or a fireplace, or this is your dream to have, a pizza oven outside. So all these things, if you can't find a house that has those things, it might be possible to add it to a house that's within your budget, within your location, and it hits all those other things. This is something what I do with my clients. I know I've gone through renos before with myself, but also with other clients. I know what's possible and what's not possible, and approximately how much it'll cost too, depending on the house. So this is the thing that if you don't hire me, if I don't work in your area, find an agent who can answer all these questions about, oh, sorry, I have a typo there, about the area. I'm going to change that. And other things too that you really, these questions that you really have that might be very specific to you. And it's not something that we are asking you because we don't know what exactly you want. So you have to answer, or you have to ask those questions. Is this possible?
And if there is, just one more thing about that, Colette, is if people are willing to come up, get a fixer-upper, right? Then also you have to factor in the cost of doing those renovations. You're going to be in to buy a property with a down payment, but that does not include to have those other things that you want to do. You want to do the bathroom, the kitchen, the garden, all of those kind of things, right?
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because the one thing that I remember when my husband and I bought our first house, we set aside every year between $1,000 and $2,000 over and above everything to do little changes. So the first year there was no air conditioner, for example. It took us 2 years to save for that air conditioner. And we put it in after the 2 years, once we knew how much it was going to cost, once we knew we wanted one, and it would improve the house. So these are things that, honestly, we don't want you to be house poor. We want you to find the best thing. Same thing with income properties. If it doesn't have those things, we start a tally of how much is an air conditioner? How much is it going to cost for new doorknobs, let's say? What is the lifestyle that you're trying to create for that tenant if you're not going to flip it? So these are all great questions that if you have, you know what, I would never want anybody to go it alone. Always have your crew, always have your people that will give you advice, that will give you, I'll continue on, that will give you that feedback, but also will support you through this whole time. If I have great friends that if I call and say, hey, I want to renovate my bedroom, oh my God, they show up with sledgehammers. It's great.
Great.
So build your friends and build your team if you really want to renovate. It's fantastic. So, but most importantly, out of all of this, I want everyone to really, because the way the market is right now, it's very, very hard to get everything on your wish list. Most people do not get everything on their wish list. As much as they want it, they have to be flexible about something. I don't want you to be flexible on the big things. So really, location, finances, obviously you don't want to overspend. But ultimately, I love you buyers, but if you want to overspend and you have the money, you can get it. I'm not going to stop you. That's really something that you have to talk to Araceli to really be honest with yourselves about. And your team to say, I know I can borrow this much money, but do I want to? Is this going to change my lifestyle in the end? If I overextend myself, I can't travel, I can't spend time, I have to work hard, I can't lose my job.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Buying a property, it takes a lot of resources, your financial resources, right? And you're tied to this house for a long time, right? So you have to make sure that your financial position is strong, because if something changes and something that you didn't foresee happens, like, there's a leak in the roof. Oh my goodness. You cannot just say, well, I'll do it in 2 years when I save the money. Sometimes you can't do that. Right. And that's why it is sometimes better to compromise a little bit with certain things that are a wish that you wish to have, instead of trying to get more. And then if something goes wrong, then you don't have any flexibility or resources to support that. It's
Right.
better to be safe that way.
Well, and then to go back to the last point here, that even though you buy a brand new build from a builder, it will still need something. Windows,
Absolutely.
you need to buy furniture. You'll have to do your personal touches on the house if you want to buy artwork, things like that. So even though you think, okay, this is my max budget for buying the house, and you hit your max budget, you have to really look at your other finances too, to say, okay, well, how am I going to live here now? I can't even, afford a sofa. How do I do? So things like that, you really have to give yourself, I'm honestly, Araceli, I hate to admit it, but I'm the worst when it comes to budgeting. I know
You are not the only one. And,
yeah.
in my experience, I had people, probably I would say 90% of the people don't have a budget that you follow, right? And, this is one of the things that I specialize in, that I help people with. And I have seen how people change dramatically their behavior when you are aware of what you need to spend, or what you have predicted, or what you want to spend on.
Right.
And
okay.
It gives you the option to have priorities.
You can help me, because I want to do a renovation soon on my house. It's not a big one.
Perfect. Let's get together and do that.
Before I get a sledgehammer, I'm going to talk to you. We'll do the numbers and really figure out, because this is something that, never mind buying a resale home that's already done, you have your 4 walls. Even new builds, there are always something. Sometimes new builds don't have a finished basement. Sometimes they don't come with an air conditioner. All these things, you have to really look at the factors before you make a big decision whether or not to buy.
This is one of the things that I tell my clients, is that the devil is in the details, and some of the little stuff can add up to be a big expense. So that's why you need a budget.
Absolutely. When you're doing, especially with renos, every little thing costs something, and every action has a reaction too, because once you change your doorknobs and you say, oh, well, now I change my doorknobs, I want to do all the hardware in the kitchen, and so on and so on. So
yeah, it snowballs.
Yeah, slow down. So just to recap, we just wanted to give you a little recap here at the end. So really think about communication. Communicate with everybody on your team. I call everybody team. So financial advisor, mortgage broker, realtor, home inspector, lawyer. We all need to, and communicate with one another too. If you're a couple or if you're an investor, talk to your partners. Know your numbers.
Numbers are on your numbers, your lifestyle cost numbers, the house numbers, all the numbers you need to know.
Right. And if you like numbers, we only can show houses that start with the number 5. That's okay. Also, location, that's a must. Any details that you can give over and above what you're looking for. Do you want to fix her up, or do you want turnkey as much as possible? And really be flexible if you can on certain things, and hire a great agent, or hire a great everything. Make sure that your financial advisor, mortgage broker, lawyer, everybody can support you in your.
Yeah, and if you don't, if you require somebody that, obviously a financial advisor, I can help you with it. Realtor, we have that. But if you are looking for other professionals, we do have access to that if you start working with us. So
that's right. So wouldn't you want to be this happy family? Isn't that lovely?
Oh yeah, it looks nice. I love it. Awesome. So I hope this was very helpful for you, and that, if there's anything here that you want more information, please contact us. Let us know exactly what you want. We'll be happy to do a show on that and give you more information. And if you want a free consultation, we both do free consultations to see if there is a way that we can work together. So
yes. And you know what, honestly, we every time we get a question, it's not just you asking, it's a lot of people that are asking and desiring that information too. So please don't ever hesitate to ask. Not a stupid question.
Yeah, nothing is like that. So
cheers. Thank you
so much. And let's do another year, Colette.
Hey, okay.
Bye. See you next week.
Thanks for joining us.